Hello, everyone. We're here today to talk about the theme of supporting student wellness at home. I'm Amanda Ilepamarachi, the Learning Support Coordinator and Social Emotional Counselor here at ISB.
And I'm Dale Plotsky. I'm the Whole School Learning and Innovation Coordinator. Two things about this first slide. You can click on our names here, and that will open up an email, and that's how you can get in contact with us. And alternatively, up here in the top corner where it says bit.ly/ISBSSW, it's case sensitive. This will take you to the presentation, and there's tons of links and resources that we want to share with you, so make sure that you make a copy of it. But with that said, let's get into talking about supporting student wellness.
Okay, so here we have something called a mood meter. This mood meter was actually developed by the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. After doing a lot of research, this mood meter has been created to really enable individuals to understand, recognize their feelings, to help us manage and regulate our feelings, and also how to identify how they influence our behavior. This mood meter is actually a tool that can be used across ages. So we can use it as parents to be more aware of the way we are feeling and how our feelings affect our parenting. But also, it can be a great tool to develop the language being used at home to help our children identify feelings and also rate the way they're feeling to enable them to identify how it affects their behavior. So, as you can see, this is a quadrant. So, it's divided into four main colors, and it's also divided according to energy levels and pleasantness or comfortable ness. So as it goes upwards or downwards, we're increasing in energy or decreasing energy. And as it goes across to the right and left, there is pleasantness and comfort level increasing or decreasing.
Hello.
So, what we would like to do today is actually use this mood meter as part of our discussion and as part of a tuning activity for all of us.
Yeah, so right now what I'd like you to do is just have a look at the mood meter and think, what emotion are you feeling right now? So are you feeling very comfortable and very energetic? Are you ecstatic or cheerful? Or maybe are you a little bit, less pleasant and low energy? Maybe you're a little sad today. So this is a great tool for you to start identifying and talking about emotions with your kid. Now, let's talk about what actually is wellness. So I'll go full screen for this one just so we can see it.
Right. So, wellness, as defined by the Global Wellness Institute, is really the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that lead to a state of holistic health. I really want to emphasize the active component here. Wellness is not merely the absence of sickness or disease, but this active engagement and search and choices that we make in order to bring a holistic sense of wellness in our lives and in our families and relationships. So, wellness has actually been divided into multiple dimensions. And as you can see, we have a few dimensions here that encapsulates wellness. For the purpose of our presentation, we will actually be highlighting three of these dimensions, namely physical, emotional, and social wellness. The reason why we chose these dimensions were because we thought that they were quite universal dimensions and also had the biggest impact on our students.
Yeah. So the first one we want to talk to you about today is physical wellness. And I think we'll just keep the camera, we'll keep it as is, and we'll just go through them one by one.
Great. So, physical wellness is really about maintaining a healthy body through exercise, nutrition, and sleep. When we think about a healthy body, of course, we think of exercise. And here's where I really want to emphasize the importance of movement. We are quite literally, we were born to move. And movement is such an important aspect of our daily lives. Um, Through movement, we're able to think, learn, remember, interact with the world around us, and even connect and build relationships. So, when we think of movement and building movement in our daily lives, it's very important to provide our children the opportunity to have some authentic movement breaks. Sure, exercise is important, but even if it's simple acts of movement where they're, getting out of their seat and engaging in something that they really enjoy. Sometimes it can be as simple as walking your pet, taking your dog on a walk, maybe doing something like yoga or dance, or it could even be something like taking walks or hikes. Mindful movement is something that's a bit more active, where they're really paying attention to the way their body moves. So, this can lead to a lot of beneficial things like improving self esteem and confidence in students. It can be a simple act of paying attention to their posture when they're walking. So, if they're a bit more hunched, or if they're taking slow strides, how can they make simple changes in their movement to improve self esteem and confidence?
All right, and so I want to suggest a few tools that you could, bring into the household that may actually help you with this idea of movement. And the first one, especially given that we've just come off of distance and hybrid learning, would be the idea of automating some of your movement reminders. So this is a Google Chrome extension that you can put onto your browser, and it's called Move It. And this is a really great little extension because it will give you a reminder every 10, 15 minutes, every 60 minutes, whatever you set it to, and it will remind you to get up and move with super fun and super engaging little activities. So some of them are like classic workout things like let's do 20 jumping jacks. And then some of them are kind of wilder and crazier, like try and do a handstand. So it's a whole array of different types of movements to break up your day. The next one that I have for you is to incorporate some fun movement into your family activities. So maybe it's been a long time since you have done some of these games or want a refresher. This is a resource from Common Sense Schools called Wide Open School. And it is a whole list of age specific movement activities for your kids. So these are for grades 3 to 5, and there's yoga, there's different like kicking games. There's how to make a do-it-yourself mini golf course. All sorts of resources. And if you have older kids, you can just bump over to grade 9 and 12, and we'll give you those age-specific recommendations here as well. So really good stuff from Wide Open Schools.
Excellent. So, moving on now to sleep. Sleep is, of course, a very important part of our daily life, as it helps us to mentally and physically recharge our batteries. Not only is sleep good for promoting cognition and memory, but it's also something that improves attention. And the requirements, or the daily requirements for sleep, varies with age, but no matter how old your child is, they need some solid hours of sleep to make sure that they're alert and they're ready to learn and engage with their environment. So, the recommended hours of sleep for elementary students should be from 10 to 13 hours. And for secondary students, it should be between 8 to 10 hours. Now, if you have older students and they're saying, oh, I'm functioning fine with 5 to 6 hours, nope. They need at least 8 hours of sleep to make sure that they are productive. Maintaining wind down and sleep routines are really important so that students can fall asleep well and stay asleep for the duration of time. Simple acts like taking a warm bath before sleeping, or engaging in some meditation activities, which we will touch upon later on in this presentation. The habit of reading, again, is an excellent way to wind down, calm yourself, calm your mind, and be ready for bed and prepared for sleep. So, having family routines like bedtime stories are an excellent way for the younger children to not only wind down, but also there's a lot of benefits in terms of language development, and connecting with your family by having bedtime stories as a routine. But even for the older students, encouraging reading before sleep is an excellent way to calm down.
Excellent. So from the technology side, in terms of sleep, there's a couple things I want to point out. Number one is something called night mode, and this exists on all devices, whether it's an Apple, Android, PC, whatever it is. And this is essentially a setting that you enable on the device to turn the blue light emitted by the screen into red light. Blue light in nature wakes our brains up and tells us the day is ready to get going, and red light puts us to sleep and is easier on our eyes. So if, let's say, it's around 6 p.m., the sun is going down, and your child is still working on some important homework, but let's be honest, that can happen. It's very important that the screen starts transferring from blue to red light. So here I am, I'm using a Mac computer right now, and if I come up here into this upper corner where these three little lines are, I can just bump up to the top, and here you can see night shift. Unfortunately, on the screen recording, you won't be able to see, but when I toggle it on, it turns like a pinkish color, and when I turn it off, it goes back to kind of a clear bluish light. And what I've linked for you here in the presentation is how to find night mode on every single device that you have. So regardless of whether you have an iPhone, an Android, a PC, a Mac, this document will tell you how you can turn on the night mode for every type of device. Next up, we have just the hard and fast rule is no screens in the bedroom. There's a couple different reasons for this. Number one, we got to be honest, our bodies have a physical addiction to our cell phones at this point. When we feel the vibration, our brains wake up. When we hear the notification light, our brains wake up. When we see the pulsing notification light, our brains wake up, and we know that there's something there waiting for us, a present, a treat. So it's very important, if you want the child's brain to wind down so they can go to sleep, the screen has to be fully out of the bedroom where they can't hear it at all, they can't see it at all, and they can fully mentally disconnect from the device. And probably the best suggestion I have for you is to buy an alarm clock. Go to a store and buy an old school physical alarm clock. And that is because, number one, it will ensure the kid can get out of bed without actually having a cell phone. And number two, it will prevent your child from getting sucked into their phone the moment they wake up. And if you want, you can click up here where it says no screens, and we have a bunch of information about the effects of screen time on child sleep from a very good coding resource. So I encourage you to check that out.
Okay, we're moving along now to emotional wellness. So, emotional wellness is about being in touch with our feelings, being aware, accepting our feelings, and also being able to express ours and others' feelings. One of the fundamental aspects of improving our emotional intelligence is through communication. As a family, it's very important that children feel that they're able to communicate their feelings with their parents, but also have a spirit of disclosure where the parents are also able to share their feelings with their children. So it's important to have intentional conversations where this takes place. Now, it's again very important that you are able to develop a routine for these conversations to take place. For some families, that might mean having mealtime conversations. For others, it might mean having conversations before going to bed or first thing in the morning. Depending on your work schedule, depending on your family routines, it's important that you find some place that this can take place. And it needs to be meaningful. So, for example, Parents can be role models where they share with their children something they're experiencing, like if you're going to make a presentation at work and you're a bit stressed out or nervous about that presentation, you can share that. I have a big presentation. I'm feeling a bit anxious. I'm feeling a bit stressed out. However, I've made cue cards to stay prepared. I've got all the documentation I need to give a good presentation. So we're role modeling, we're sharing some of our coping strategies with our children. So they know even as adults, we face similar challenges. And these are some strategies that work for me. Maybe it can work for you too. So having those open communication is very important.
Great. And for finding the time to have open communication, what I would recommend from you from the technology side is starting to do what's called a device-free dinner. So device-free dinners are an initiative that, again, was put out by the mighty Common Sense Media. And it is an initiative that happens once a year. I can't remember the date exactly, but it's once a year to have families all around the world put down their devices and have dinner together as a family with the intention of working it into your family routine as much as it is right for you. So maybe your family feels like every dinner should be device free, or maybe twice a week or once a week, whatever is right for you. But a couple things to keep in mind about device-free dinner is, number one, everyone needs to agree to it. So it can't be something that we just spring on the kids one day when we decide to do this. We need their input and their buy-in. Number two, cell phones need to be completely out of sight during device-free dinner. And this awesome video from Sesame Street really does a good job of highlighting that. They have to be fully awake. Even if your cell phone is upside down or is just on the counter beside the table, whatever it is, just the presence of it can downgrade the quality of conversation in the family. Also, I would highly recommend that you have a timer, a physical timer, again, like a clock or a stopwatch, that shows how long dinner will go for, so everyone knows the expectation. So I just can't finish my food, run off, and go grab my phone. The idea is that everyone in the family is agreeing to a set amount of time. And by having those three things, an agreement, no cell phones, and a timer, your device-free dinner is going to be awesome. One other thing that we want to share with you, conversations just don't fall out of the sky. They don't grow on trees. You can use some age-appropriate conversation prompts. Again, these come from Common Sense and other resources here. And on this presentation down here, and also on your table at the presentation, we have a bunch of age-appropriate conversation starters for you. So let's come down here. So here are the different conversation prompts for elementary school. If you could be an animal, what would it be and why? If you could have any character from a book, movie, or TV show as your best friend, who would it be and why? And these are really fun questions you can ask your kids that will get them talking, and will get them asking you the same questions as well. Here's some middle school ones. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a blank when I grew up. If I could have a magical power, what would it be? And then even more kind of advanced would be your high school level ones. Who have you enjoyed being around recently? Who is always there for you? So kind of more of that deeper, emotional, reflective type of question. Again, feel free to actually bring these prompts in and have everyone in the family respond to them.
Excellent. Now moving on to some mindfulness practicing. Being mindful is actually the ability to be fully present, to be aware of your surroundings and yourselves. And mindful meditation, or the practice of being mindful, is something that has been around for a long time in multiple different cultures, but now has been backed by research and has really shown improvements in how, when we train our brain to be mindful, we're actually remodeling the physical structure of our brain and actually creating new neural pathways. And the practice of mindfulness really enables us to bring some distance between our feelings and our reactions or our conditioned responses. So by practicing mindfulness, we're able to better understand what we're feeling, what our body's physiologically experiencing when we have these feelings, and then how that results in our behavior. And if we don't like our reactions or behavior, then that's an opportunity for us to correct it. So, mindfulness meditation is really something that's growing in popularity because there is a lot of benefit in encouraging all ages to be more aware of themselves.
Yeah. And a way a lot of people and a lot of schools are kind of having more success with this is actually using some apps and some resources, some sites to actually help improve mindfulness. It's one of those weird kind of like catch 22s in life, is that technology can actually help lower our dependence on technology. And so some of the apps that we wanted to share with you. Oh, before we get into this, I also want to mention one thing. We have a wonderful resource at our school in Miss Laura McLucky. Laura works in communications at ISB, and she is a certified wellness instructor. And so I chatted with her before today's presentation, and these were a lot of her recommendations for the best apps and tools for cultivating mindfulness. The first one is Headspace. This is a very popular site that I'm sure you've maybe heard of before. And Headspace is more than an app, it's like a whole toolkit for improving your mental state. So they offer articles and different research projects and different kind of big initiatives to try and have healthier workplaces and things like that. But you can basically choose what area you want to focus on. Do you want to focus on meditation, sleep, movement, focus, or maybe waking up with positivity? And there is usually a whole series of guided steps and playlists to help you reach that goal. So Headspace, really good. Very similar, but is Calm, and Calm is a very much focused on meditation. So if we come here to where it says get started, similar to Headspace, it's going to offer you a choice of what you want to work on. So do you want to build self-esteem? Do you want to develop gratitude? Do you want to develop better sleep habits? And same, it will give you guided meditations, guided talks, reminders throughout the day of exercises you can practice to meet those goals. So very, very well designed app there. Well regarded. And sometimes we have bigger problems, and we really have to break that dependency. One thing that works really, really great is an app here, which is also available on the App Store, called Less Phone. And this is a distraction-free launcher on your cell phone. So what you do is you put this on your phone. You pick 4 things your phone can do besides telephone calls, and it will just lock your phone to those. So you can say, I want to listen to music, I want to be able to use WhatsApp, look at my calendar, and check the weather. 4 things, and everything else gets blocked. So if you're in a more dire situation and need more help getting away from the phone, this could be a really great resource. And there's lots of similar apps to Less Phone. And oops, a couple other things that Laura shared with me. Mindful Monsters. This one looks super cool. These are flashcards that you can use with your kids, and they're different, fun, age-appropriate mindful activities you can do to build in quality time, intentional time with your kids. So each card has a different theme and a different challenge, and you can kind of use them just on the spot. And the one that we are going to be trying in the actual lesson is one called Mind Yeti. Mind Yeti is a YouTube channel of guided meditations and mindfulness activities for kids. Oops. I'll have to double check that link, but you can do a YouTube search for them, Mind Yeti. They're very, very, very good.
Okay, so moving on to social wellness. Social wellness is really about connecting with other people, interacting with them, contributing, as well as contributing to our communities. And so, when you really think about community, the first a concept of community starts in our family, and it's very important to build our family connections, whether it's between parents and children, whether it's between siblings. It's important to have designated time for the family to engage in activities. And this can be as simple as, having a board game night, maybe once a week, maybe once in 2 weeks, where everyone has the opportunity to bring a board game or any game really that they would like to play with the family and teach the family. It can be something like
Scrabble.
Scrabble, exactly, or Jenga. Or it can also be where we're getting involved in the kitchen. So, different individuals can take turns meal prepping. And this is again linked to, the aspect of nutrition and having balanced diet, but also giving our children an ownership of their diet. So, actually listening to what are some things that they do like to eat, how does that fit into the meal prepped, and how does that fit into a balanced diet. um, Giving the opportunity to engage in community service is something I think that is extremely important for our children, because it helps build empathy, compassion, but also builds confidence and leadership skills in our children. So, having us, especially in the current situation where children can sometimes feel this sense of hopelessness or helplessness with what's happening around the world, it's really good to give students an opportunity to feel like they're making a difference. So if it means going to an animal shelter and helping out with animals, maybe donating some of their old toys or books or stationery to, an orphanage, or it could be if they're really confident with their English skills, helping being a peer tutor to others with English in their neighborhood, maybe, or in other local schools. Finding something that works for you as a family and engaging in it long term will be really beneficial to building those community connections. And finally, I forgot one. I skipped over one thing, and that was keeping in touch with extended family. I think, again, in the current circumstances, it can sometimes feel alienating for our children. And having those connections with their extended family, with grandparents, with cousins, is really important. So, having maybe a routine again of maybe once a week or once in 2 weeks, but being able to video call or Zoom or WeChat, whatever it is, but having those connections with their extended family and friends is really important.
Yeah, and I guess from the technology perspective, what we're talking about is going to overlap with social media. And so I have a few tips regarding social media that I want to share. And the first one is ask your kids what is their goal with social media? Are they just looking to connect with their friends? Are they looking to learn new skills? Do they want to create content and actually start, building their brand and growing an audience? Having them think about why they're using social media and by extension how much they want to give to their social media account is a great a conversation for them to have. It'll clarify for them, and it'll also help you as a parent set those healthy boundaries. And once you've had that conversation, it's going to be much easier to do point number two, which is to write a family media agreement. And this is something I always recommend in my workshops. A media agreement is a contract between parent and child about when technology will be used, in what way, for how long, and what you'll do if you're not on your technology. So I have two links here. The first one is from Psychology Today. If you want to write your family's own custom media agreement, this is a great article because it goes through all of the different elements that you should definitely consider and that you should definitely have. So it would just make sure that you're not forgetting anything and that you don't have any missing pieces. It's taking a minute to load, so we'll just move on to the next one maybe. Maybe you don't have time to write your own. So in that case, there's a template here as well of one that's ready to go. This is again put out by Common Sense Media, covers all of the bases, and it's a really good agreement that you can bring into your family right away. Again, everyone in the family needs to be on board. This cannot be imposed top down. This needs to be visible. This needs to be a living document that you talk about, that you revisit, and you stick to. By sticking to your media agreement, you're going to see a higher level of social happiness and cohesion in the house. Number 3, recognize that we're living in a new age. We're living in a pandemic in the year 2020. So the truth is kids live part of their lives online socially, through gaming, through YouTube channels. There's all sorts of ways that parents need to recognize that these are the ways that kids are connecting, and for them, this is real friendship. You will need to set those family appropriate boundaries that work for you, but just be open to the fact that it's a new day, it's a new reality, and this is how kids are connecting today. And finally, I know I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth. So on one hand, I say, we got to recognize that gaming is part of our kids' social lives, but at the same time, we got to delay their use of social media as long as possible. Adolescence is a difficult time. It's a challenging time regardless, and social media is not going to make it easier. The longer you can hold off, and that's going to be different for every parent and for every student, the longer you can hold off for them, the better. Ideally, it would be high school. So that's a professional recommendation from some of the world's top psychologists.
Yeah. All right. So we are moving on now.
All right, so we just wanted to close with a little reflection activity. So think about, what is one thing that you're doing right now in your home that's working, that you're already doing to support your child's wellness?
And what is one thing you will commit to adopting from now on?
Leave it in the comments below. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.